I'm Carol Chastain Bill from Columbia, Tennessee. I'm the president of the Pierre Chastain Family Association. We're in Lebanon, Tennessee for our 40th reunion, 40th birthday of the Pierre Chastain family. And one of the activities we have here is a presentation by Dr. Thomas Wingo of research they're doing on Chastain's and Alzheimer's disease, because there seems to be a higher rate of Alzheimer's among Chastain descendants.
Okay, all right.
Chastain's house. He built it between it could be 1807 to 1813, somewhere in there, where our son's mother has done, she's into genealogy. So she did our genealogy, and then she went to the house's genealogy. Nothing else to do. So, but it's still kind of evolving. Some of the details, we're finding sometimes different records. We've gotten a couple of historians that have kind of worked up a different scenario from what we thought. Now, if you know any of the history of Elijah Chastain, supposedly he came over as a young man on the wagon train following a girl, was going to go a few miles, and then ended up going all the way to Tennessee. Are you familiar with that story? Well, that was it in a nutshell. The only trouble is, supposedly he married that girl, but the documents show all the woman's name, and his official wife, she's about 20 years younger. So if he left as a young man, he was following a baby. So, that story kind of falls apart a little bit, but it's like anything in history, you're just piecing it all together and hoping for the best scenario. But we've got some, like the old microfilm out of Nashville, we've got some pictures in a book and documentations of, like, this original deed for this 400-acre property was a Revolutionary War land grant out of North Carolina, because Tennessee at that time was not a state yet. This was part of North Carolina. So we've got that document of 1799. In 1801, the man that received the land grant he was a quartermaster in the Revolutionary War. He got like 2,600 some odd acres. Well, he picked 400 here. He looked at another deed book, picked 400 in Rutherford County. He just kind of picked some all over. And then what they did is they received it, but then they sold it for income rather than saying, I'm going to go live there. So that's what he did. He sold this to a James Davidson in 1801. That's the first deed that we go back to. Then about 1807, we have some form of transfer of property from James Davidson. And then in 1807, no, that was 1807. He bought it in 1807. About 1812, he has to go to the court in a civil lawsuit, and he has to pay the sheriff $100, and he has to turn over, I think it's 200 and some odd acres to the sheriff. The sheriff turned around in that very moment, and it's for a deed of convenience, gave it to Elijah Chastain. And it doesn't say for any money, it just said deed of convenience. So we just thought, well, Elijah just happened to show up at a land auction kind of thing, but the historians have kind of weaved this little different thread that really makes more sense. The fact that Elijah Chastain came over as a young man, probably he had to indenture himself as a laborer or, as of some servant. Probably being a young man was probably a farm worker. And he probably, this is where the scenario goes into the probably category, or the sounds good, it works for me category. He probably, that's a very friendly kitty. You will all meet that kitty today, I promise. He probably made some sort of agreement with James Davidson, it looks like maybe 1807, to work off the 200 acres. When the time came for him to get it, the man probably said, no, you can work another 7 years or whatever. And it wasn't turned over. So it looks like he might have had to take him to court. The property was given to the sheriff. The sheriff turned around, official transfer, and gave it to Elijah Chastain. It sounds good, and I'm going with that story. But we don't know, but that really looks probable because the fact he did come over young and probably had to indenture himself. And the time came, he wanted what he was working for.
Did you say come over?
My name is Dorothy Hightower, and I'm a Chastain, and they've been doing this interview for a good long while now concerning the Chastains having Alzheimer's, and they have a gene apparently that hasn't been isolated yet, and they're hoping for a cure for Alzheimer's. And my family, Emory University, has been studying them for quite a few years, about 10 years now, and it's personal in my family. It took out, my dad had dementia. He's the only one that didn't get full-blown Alzheimer's before he died, and the family before him. And there's a lot of these people that's getting Alzheimer's, and they're hoping to find a cure this way. So I asked, how can we help? And they said, get the word out. We need other people other than just my family. And so when I found that, it opened a whole new door. And so I took it to the newspaper office, and she wrote an article that went all the way back to Pierre Chastain. He's the one that, the father of all the Chastains in America. And so after she did this article, my daughter is a phlebotomist in LJ, Georgia, and we left her number, and they were calling her from all over the United States wanting to know, how can we help? How can we give blood? We want to help in this. Whether they have Alzheimer's or not, everybody's getting together because they care. Right. And I just think it's awesome, and I hope that they find a cure, not just for my family, not for my sake, but for everybody's sake that has been on this path before and has suffered this ordeal with their parents or grandparents. It's a sad thing, and just maybe we can find something by the grace of God with His help and everyone's help that's got the last name Chastain. If you're Chastain and you're an elder, you can help.
And then Charlotte and Zach Moody. How many got there? Y'all want to go later?
I have a couple.
Okay, all right. Well, then we'll get. So how many we got there? Is this everybody? Well, we gotta have some more there. Okay, Roger and Terry Chastain. And you, yeah, we don't want to separate y'all. Yeah. Okay. Then let's go for
Over on this side. But the rest of you, my sister's got some cider and some cookies over there.
And there's the old smokehouse is over here.
Yeah. The spring where they got their water was down over here. And the smokehouse, that's really about all that's kind of original. So we'll go in and...
Well, how about I get Terry and Fritz to walk through. There's Pico. Hi, I'm Charlene Yo, and my maiden name is Chastain, and my sister actually is the one who got this all together, and so I'm just pitch hitting. So seriously, I really don't know how they found her, but they did, and Miss Marcia Midget and her husband have so graciously offered to show us, just open their home to us, and shown us the history and that they have researched. And so we're excited about it. We have several Elisha Chastain members that are here at the reunion with us, and they've learned things that they didn't know about Elisha Chastain through the history. So we just are very thankful for them for opening their home to us, and they've done a lot of work, and it's really neat. Great history.
Room had a fireplace in it, and this one had, of course, none of this was here. We had to put back, my husband bought 4 rock chimneys to put back this one 2-story chimney. But it had, you can see from the picture, it had this typical, wood mantle, and when we tore it down, was a curved fireplace underneath. And this pot hook was inside, boarded up in the chimney.
Wow.
And the only reason we could figure is, of course, we know the original chimney was rock, because it was still there, and then they had slaves made bricks and built the chimney that's in that picture. But this is an old pot hook where they had the old cranes that they would pull out and move their pots along, like this. Is what they would do. And apparently they knew it was old when they had it and swapped out chimneys, because they sealed it back up in there. So this could have been, somebody said Elijah did blacksmithing. And if so, this would have been one of the first tools, I'm sure, that he had forged, for convenience of eating. And then we found this in the barn. And it's an old water jug that they would have taken with horseback. Now, how old, I don't know. Maybe Civil War, maybe earlier. But it's got the zinc. They would have put probably corn cob, yeah, in there. So that's really about all the old. We found tons and tons of bottles, medicinal bottles supposedly, but all sorts of that stuff. But we found one bottle in the cellar that was way older than, you've seen the elixir bottles. This bottle is way older. It has the Pontil mark on the bottom, which is where they would have hand blown it. Didn't come out of a machine. And then it was pieced where it was a mold laid out, and then he had, of course, had it on a rod and rolled it up into the shape that he wanted. It's got still, if you get it in light, you can see the sand pock marks where they laid it in the hot molten glass, and then they applied the lip right here. So that's probably the oldest bottle that.
Did that have a cork with a wire on it that you opened it with?
It didn't have the wire. A cork of some sort, obviously, is a stopper, but yeah, no, it's didn't have the wire with it.